Summer 2024. A kid stands out on the front of a racing boat in Indonesia. He does not paddle. He does not look back. 11 years old, sunglasses, arms moving in perfect rhythm, face like stone, while behind him, an entire crew rips the river apart just to keep him standing. 200 million views, and the internet gave that stillness a name. It said he was farming aura. Here's what nobody mentions. That word aura, the internet did not make it up. Not TikTok, not Discord at 3 AM. It comes from a German philosopher who wrote it down in 1935 in exile while the country he'd fled got ready to burn the world down. Walter Benjamin. 90 years ago he described exactly what you're doing when you post and exactly why it will never work. 5 ways to have presence. A swordsman who never wanted an audience. A sorcerer who was nothing but audience. A hunter who turned it into a number. An elf who spent 1,000 years hiding it. And at the very end, a grave with no name on it. Benjamin was obsessed with one question his whole life. What happens to a thing when you copy it? In 1935, he wrote his most famous essay about art in the age of machines that could reproduce anything. And his idea was this. A painting hangs in one room in one city for 400 years. It has scars, it has history. To see it, you go to it. You stand where it stands. And that's where the power lives. Not in the image, in the presence, in the fact that it's here now, and you're here with it. And this exact meaning will never happen again. He called that presence aura. His definition, the unique phenomenon of a distance, however close it may be. Read that twice, because it's weirder than it looks. Aura is distance, even when the thing is right in front of you. However, it stays out of reach. You can look, you can't have it. And here's a warning. The copy kills the distance. A photo of the painting is on your phone, in your bed, in your feed, infinitely close, infinitely available. And in that closeness, the thing evaporates. A copy has no here, no now, no scars. It's everywhere, which is another way of being nowhere. He was talking about paintings and film reels. He never imagined a kid on a boat copied 200 million times in a weekend, but he called the consequence exactly. A world where everything can be copied, stars for the one thing that can't. Drowning in images, we get desperate for presence, and there's no supply. 90 years later, we named the hunger. We call it aura, and we named the doomed fix, trying to satisfy it with more copies. We call it farming. But before the farmers, meet a guy who actually had it. So much of it that other men felt it through a wall. Miyamoto Musashi. Takehiko Inoue's Vagabond takes a violent kid who wants to be the strongest under heaven and slowly turns him into something quieter and scarier. Early, Musashi is a textbook aura farmer. He collects tools like an account collects clips. Every kill is a post. He wants the world to know, and then one thing screams off him so loud that dogs bark and kids cry when he walks into town. That's presence, technically, but it's presence as noise. Then he meets Yagyu Tekishusai, old man, asleep in a garden, growing flowers. Musashi comes to kill him, the head of the Yagyu school, the name that would make Musashi's name. And he stands outside the room, sword drawn, and he can't move. Nothing happens, and that's the whole point. Nothing happens and it's crushing. Inoue draws it as empty space, a sleeping face, a flower, and Musashi feels it like a mountain on his chest. The old man wins the duel unconscious. He never wakes up. That's Benjamin's aura in ink. Distance, however, close. 3 meters away and infinitely far. And Sekishusai's presence was never built for an audience. There's none. He's asleep. It's 60 years of practice nobody saw. The hours are the aura. The one flower he cuts, A single clean stroke Musashi can't reproduce carries all of it. One flower, the opposite of content. And once you see it everywhere. Saitama, the strongest being in this universe, and his origin is 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, a 10-kilometer run every day. That's it. It's so boring nobody believes him, because there's no spectacle to point at. Just the unseen hours, and the joke of One Punch Man is that raw presence with no performance attached looks like nothing. Koji Fushiguro, zero curse energy, no flashy technique, just a body honed past the limit, and he walks through elite sorcerers and kills Gojo, the strongest of them, with nothing but sharpened hours. Same lesson every time, and it's the meme flipped inside out. Ore is what piles up when you start farming it. It's a side effect of mastery, like a shadow is a side effect of standing in the sun. And Inyo makes it literal. The last arc Vagabond published before its hiatus, Musashi puts his sword down and farms. Real farming. Rice, mud, failure. The strongest man in Japan, anonymous, invincible, growing food. The least aura thing a shonen hero has ever done. He's never had more of it. That's the earned version. Presence as compound interest on 10,000 hours nobody watched. Now let's break it, because centuries after Musashi, someone was born with more raw presence than anyone alive. And unlike Sekishisai, he had an audience, and he loved it. Satoru Gojo is the strongest character in Jujutsu Kaisen, and everyone knows it, because it tells them, look at what he actually is. His power is literally distance, infinity. A technique that means nothing ever truly reaches him. Benjamin's definition as a combat stat. Enemies stand in front of Gojo and their attacks flow to nothing, never arriving. Most present being in his world, completely untouchable. He is aura. And what does he do with it? He performs it. The blindfold is not protection, it's a curtain. Every reveal of those eyes is staged, timed, savored. He quotes the Buddha mid-fight. Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one, to an audience. He announces his attacks out loud. He's an influencer of the Jujutsu world. Strongest, most watched, most imitated, and his strength is inseparable from its own broadcast. And it works! That's what makes this chapter uncomfortable. The performance is not fake. Under it is a thick Jujutsu grade foundation. The real hours, the real untouchable distance. Gojo proves earned and performed can live in one body. And he's not alone. Dio and also Olo Jojo, a whole franchise where the aura is the pose, where a guy can stop time itself and still spends a moment striking a silhouette and screaming the attack name. And then the one that breaks the chapter open, Reigen Arataka, a calm man, a fake psychic with zero powers, nothing behind the curtain at all, and he commands a room harder than actual espers, because the performance alone generates the real thing. Hold on to Reigen, because he's the warning. Performance can manufacture aura out of nothing, which means it can be dissected. Watch what it costs Gojo, because his aura has an audience. It has a shape people can study. The strongest man alive gets sealed. Not outpowered, scripted. They did not beat the distance, they beat the performance. They use his need to be seen as the hook. And when he finally dies off panel, mid-swing, the death that broke the internet, something strange happens out here. Gojo gets more present dead than alive. The edits multiply, the memes multiply. He's coming back, becomes a religion. Millions of copies of a man everywhere, forever. Benjamin would know it on sight. That's not aura surviving, that's aura getting strip mined. Infinitely close, Gojo on every feed. And the distance to him is gone. What's circulating is not presence, It's the merch of presence. He performed it so well, the performance is all that's left. Which sets up the obvious next question. If you can perform aura, can you manufacture it on purpose, on a schedule? Can you grind it? Solo leveling is the biggest power fantasy of the decade, and its aura farming meme built into a magic system. Sung Jinwoo starts as the weakest hunter alive, negative presence, background character in his own life, apologizing for existing. Then the system picks him. And look at what the system actually is. Daily quests, streaks, penalties for missing a day, stats that only go up levels, notifications. It's not a game metaphor, it's a grind account metaphor. Jinwoo gets handed the exact deal the internet sells every teenager watching. Do the dailies, keep the streak, and presence accrues to you as a number. And unlike Musashi's hours, invincible uncertain, Jinwoo's hours get counted. The single most repeated image in the show is a stat screen. His aura is legible, farmable, and I'll be honest why that feels so good. It's a promise that the presence is fair, that the grind is guaranteed, that if you do the reps, you will become the guy the room goes quiet for. And the show hands you that scene again and again. Weaker hunters shaking at the pressure rolling off them. And he's the tip of an entire genre built on that fantasy. Every isekai status window, every level up notification, Overlord, Shield Hero, the whole lit RPG shelf. A decade of stories that took the oldest human question, am I strong? And answered it with a stat sheet. The number go up dopamine of a gacha screen, wearing the skin of a story. But the show smuggles Benjamin's warning right in the shape of Jinwoo's actual power. His power is copies. Every enemy he beats, he reproduces. An army of shadows. Identical, obedient, mass-produced, replaceable. The strongest being in the story is mechanically a copy machine, and the shadows have everything the originals had except the one thing that mattered. No distance. Nothing withheld, nothing that resists. Infinitely close, completely empty. Presence with the aura stripped out at industrial scale. The weakest hunter got strong by becoming mechanical reproduction. Midpoint, back to the boat. Why did that clip have aura? Really, why him? The internet makes 10,000 kids posing every hour and they generate nothing. What did he have? He was not posing, he was working. That kid is a cruise rhythm keeper. The stillness is functional. The dance sets the stroke rate. The whole boat's speed runs through his body. He was not performing for a camera he did not control and probably never thought about. He was Seki Susai in the garden, mastery indifferent to being seen. The 200 million copies came after. The aura was in the original, a real river, a real now, and every repost carried a little less of it. And every kid who then stood arms crossed hoping to get filmed had none at all. The second we named it, we industrialized it. The second we industrialized it, it died. You can't farm aura. It's the one crop that dies when you watch it grow. So where does that leave us? Earning it takes a lifetime. Performing it gets you dissected. Farming it makes empty copies. There's exactly one move left on the board, and it's the strangest one. Hiding it. I know how that sounds, but the definitive text on hiding your aura already exists. It's an anime about a 1,000-year-old elf, and I appreciate this, because one of the villains of the arc is literally named Aura. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, is about what happens after the adventure. An elf who outlives her whole party and spends decades learning too late what it meant. Slow, quiet, the most loved anime of the decade. And buried in its magic system is the answer to everything. In Frieren's world, mana is visible, presence is legible. You can look at a maid and read their power like reading a follower account of a profile. And the demons live entirely inside that. For a demon, visible mana is status. It's the hierarchy, so they radiate power at maximum, always. Because with a demon, presence you can't see does not exist. Demons are aura farmers. not an insult, it's just their nature. To a demon, being equals is being seen. 1,000 years ago, Frieren's master Flame taught her one thing above all: suppress your mana, not sometimes, constantly, every hour, every day for life, until hiding stops being technique and it becomes who you are. Frieren has walked the world for a millennium, looking like a slightly above average mage, carrying power stacked across 10 centuries nobody saw. And it's the oldest archetype there is, the unassuming old master, the one who looks like nothing. Fight him again. The strongest, and he looks like a bald guy in a tracksuit. The whole trope runs on the gap between what you see and what's there. Now stack her against everyone. Musashi's hours were unseen because nobody happened to be watching. Frieren's are unseen on purpose. 1,000 years of active, disciplined refusal to be measured. Becky's shoe-sized garden weaponized. Benjamin distance chosen. She's infinitely more than she looks. She's infinitely more than she looks. Which means the gap between her image and her reality, the distance, however close, is the biggest of anyone in this video. Her aura is enormous because you cannot see it. And then she meets the demon named Aura. Aura, the guillotine, a great demon general, centuries old, commands an army of the beheaded, and her signature magic is a scale. A giant golden scale that weights her mana against yours. Whoever's lighter obeys. Presence as pure metric, a follower count duel, a stat check. The solo leveling screen turned into a god, and she's never lost because she's never met anyone whose number was bigger than it looked. You already know what happens. She looks at Frieren, reads the mana of a mid-tier mage, invokes the scale, bets everything on the number, and 1,000 hidden years land on the other side. The scale does not tip, it condemns her. Frieren, blank-faced, gives the shortest order in the series, and the demon named Aura is destroyed by her own measurement, by the assumption that presence displayed is presence post. The demon who trusted the number was killed by the hours nobody saw. If this video has one image, it's that scale, one side. Everything you can post, display, count, farm. Other side, the unwitnessed time and the verdict. The verdict Benjamin wrote 90 years ago in an exile apartment is that the second side is always heavier. And here's the last turn. The reason demons in Frieren can't win. They can't even imagine concealment. The show basically says it out loud. A being who thinks presence equals display cannot conceive of hiding power for 1,000 years, because to them, hidden power is wasted power. What's the point of aura no one can see? The point is the whole point. Sekishisai asleep in his garden, Musashi in the rice mud, every hour anyone ever spent getting good at something without filming it. Unwitnessed presence is the only kind that's real. Everything else is a copy of it. Aura concealed is aura conserved. Aura farmed is aura on the scale. Musashi earned it and only kept it when he stopped wanting it. Gojo performed it and the performance ate him. Jinwoo farmed it and harvested an army of empty copies. Frieren hid it for 1,000 years and became the heaviest thing in her world. The meme has it backwards, and somewhere in a room in 1935, a chain-smoking philosopher already knew. The people farming aura are the reason there's a shortage. One more thing. The German philosopher Walter Benjamin died fleeing from the bad Germans in 1940. He reached the border that had just closed, and that night took his own life. The next morning, it reopened. His grave was later lost to the man who defined the here and now has no here, no now. A distance, however close. He was not farming anything, he was keeping the rhythm. That's why you could not look away.